Welcome to the Bitcoin in Africa show. From Dakar to Dar es Salaam, from Cairo to Cape Town, we are the voice of Bitcoin in Africa. Hi, and welcome to a very special episode of the Bitcoin in Africa show. This is a show where we tell the story of the amazing Bitcoin revolution that's happening in Africa. Today, we are at the Africa Bitcoin Conference in beautiful Accra, Ghana. And I am here with Ray Youssef, the CEO of Paxful, which is the largest peer-to-peer exchange in Africa. Thank you so much for being here with us, Ray.
It's my pleasure, my honor. Thank you.
Now, here's the thing, Ray, you are one of the most passionate Bitcoiners. And I know Paxful does a ton of work in Africa. Can you tell us about your Bitcoin story and how you came to start Paxful and why you're so passionate about Africa? I know it's a lot. I know you can handle it.
Well, my Bitcoin story almost started before Bitcoin in that, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. My first startup was in 1999. It was peer-to-peer ringtones, ironically. And my biggest problem was payments, because I was catering to an unbanked population, teenagers that wanted to buy ringtones.
Got it.
They didn't have credit cards. They borrowed their mothers. They get charged back, but she didn't know what this was. So every startup I had, payments was always a problem. Then when I heard about peer-to-peer electronic cash, these are the first words on this Bitcoin white paper thing that I read. I was like, interesting. It sounds like nerd money, but whenever I see peer-to-peer, I get excited since I've been doing, almost all my startups have been peer-to-peer for the past 20 years. So I got into it, and it's literally when I met the people in Bitcoin that I was really awed by, their resilience, their passion, and the fact they were always willing to educate. And I kind of was won over by the community. So it was really the people in Bitcoin that won me over. The technology was impressive, of course, but when I saw the drive of the people, it almost seemed like a social movement, almost a religion, and in fact, it kind of is a religion, a cult in a way. Or rather, it's breaking us out of a cult, and that cult is this whole system of fiat, this debt-based slavery system that has metastasized over the past 100 years, and really kind of, you could say, almost began 2,000 years ago. It's been a while right now, and what we're dealing is a system that doesn't want us to understand how it works, wants to keep us blind, and wants to keep us really as slaves. And the best thing that Bitcoin did for me was, it made me ask a simple question. What is money? Is it gold? Is it silver? Is it paper? Where does it come from? How is it created? And once I began to ask these questions, I began to look for answers, and eventually I found the answers. My road took me through Tahrir Square in Egypt, Zuccotti Park and Occupy Wall Street in New York. Full circle, I spent several years just deep in history, trying to understand exactly how we got to this place, to this point in history. And the best thing I got out of it, besides understanding what money is a belief in humanity, that the default state of humanity is actually prosperity, wealth, and abundance. It's not poverty and misery. We're not just a bunch of hairless primates on a ball of rock spinning at some unfathomable speed across the galaxy. We're a lot more than that. So I really believe that Bitcoin as a movement is pro-human. And that's why I love it so much, and that's why I decided to build things around it. So my first Bitcoin startup didn't work. It was a POS for retail merchants to accept Bitcoin because I wanted everyone to accept Bitcoin.
Where was it based?
It was in New York City.
Oh, wow. And when was that?
That was 2013.
And New York is one of the hardest places to do any kind of Bitcoin or crypto because they had the bit license back then, so you were hitting a lot of regulatory walls for sure.
Yeah, but that was even before the bit license, and before then, it was hard as well. Because number one, trying to get New York shopkeepers to get into anything new was rough.
Yeah,
I was kicked out of a few bars, and I don't even drink. But number two, it was solving a problem that didn't exist. Merchants don't want to accept Bitcoin because they're not people that have it. And it made me face the core problem. How do we get more Bitcoin into the hands of the people and educate them about why they should use it and how they should use it? Then that's why I set out and I created this peer-to-peer marketplace called Paxful. Pax in peace means Latin. Essentially, peaceful is the name of the company. And it's simple. If we have an honest system of money, history has proven that humanity will create wealth. It will create rampant wealth, prosperity, and abundance. And if we all have wealth, prosperity, and abundance, well, we're going to have a peaceful world because there's no reason to fight, right?
That's right, when everyone's wealthy. So let's talk about this because there are a decent amount of Bitcoin companies and there are a decent amount of exchanges, but not many exchanges had the foresight to think about Africa as a market. I'd love to hear about that transition for you all, what you saw, when you saw it, and how you started to make steps to take positions in Africa.
Yeah, well, in the very beginning is like 2011 for me and my Bitcoin journey. Everyone was talking about Bitcoin as a store of value, right? Hey, buy some Bitcoin, it'll resist inflation, but there wasn't much inflation back then. But really the main narrative was speculation, right? This is another asset class for rich kids to play with. And then Bitcoin, metastasized into all these other shit coins, unfortunately. And then we gave us crypto, which is honestly, it really is a big scam, right? But Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is the real thing.
Yeah.
So I believed in the original mission of Bitcoin. People at the time were talking about remittances. Well, at the time, Bitcoin remittances were nowhere near happening. Even now, they're still, haven't really proven a use case except for Africa, all right? So what happened? This was 8 years ago. I'm African, I was born in Egypt, and I believe that Bitcoin could be a tool to help the little guy. That it should not just be an asset class for rich kids to play with, it should be a means of exchange to help people where they need it most. And naturally that took me to Africa, right? So I came to Nigeria, and before that I was talking to all these Africans online, trying to teach them about Bitcoin, giving away my own Bitcoin to show them how they could trade Bitcoins for gift cards or mobile money, and it was rough going. But of all the people I talked to, the Nigerians went at it with full force, especially once they saw the profit margins that could be made trading gift cards. And I was really impressed. I was like, man, I got to go over there.
What year was that?
That was like 2015. So I went to Nigeria and I met the people. I believe in boots on the ground. It's always been my strategy. I grew up in a newsstand in Columbus Circle in Hell's Kitchen, New York. So I believe in being on the street. That's where real business is done, especially in the money business. When I first came to Nigeria, I met the people, I was just blown away. Every day was just a catastrophic journey through just revelation after revelation, right? And so I went to Lagos as well, and Lagos is something. But yeah, Lagos is an amazing city. It's like Miami in the 80s on steroids, right? And I learned a lot from the brothers and the sisters there, and they showed me the problems that they had every day, just sending money, receiving money, even getting money to the country next door. And it opened my eyes. It was like, wow. Their money is literally in a prison. It cannot leave the country. It's easier just to put a suitcase full of cash on a bus or a plane just to make a payment to the country next door. There's 2,000 payment networks in Africa, yet only 2% of them talk to each other. It's a miracle people here aren't extinct. I mean, how prosperous would America be if you couldn't make a payment from New York to New Jersey?
And I think that analogy is so powerful because, I think the average American and I have a lot of Western folks that listen to the show, they just don't have a concept of not being able to transact. Like if you think about the 50 states, if you think about the states as individual countries, and none of those states can interact with each other, that is what it's like in Africa.
Absolutely.
But 54 currencies, 44 central banks, that is madness. It doesn't have to be. And that's why your work at Paxful is so important.
Yeah, and my work in Paxful is important, yes, but it's only important for one reason, because we actually listen to the people. Like everything I know about peer-to-peer finance, which is what this is, I've learned from the youth of Africa, specifically Western Africa. Mad props to our people in Nigeria and our Ghanaian traders too. Some amazing hustle there. Like these people will not take no for an answer. Truly like inbred, genetically disposed to amazing entrepreneurship, and I'm so impressed, so much respect, and that's why Nigeria is our biggest market to this day. And America's number 2, India's number 3, and Ghana's number 4. Little Ghana is pulling its weight for real.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then there's Kenya, South Africa, Cameroon is on the up. I mean, Africa is an amazing place. When you come here for the first time and you meet the people, you will be in awe. Everyone talks about the natural resources in Africa. And there are many natural resources in the ground, thank God. But the greatest natural resource of Africa are its young people. These are brilliant, ambitious young people that are looking for a path. And they don't have any racism or hate or animosity. They just want to move forward. And it's beautiful. If you have that and you just show them the path that, hey, this Bitcoin thing can be a means of exchange to help you do what you need to do. And now we're getting to it, right? The biggest problem in the world is economic apartheid. That's the name I've given to this thing. And you only understand that it truly is apartheid. It is impossible to break out of for the normal person. And this is what keeps all the black, brown, and yellow people poor in what I've come to call the global south. It's the biggest problem in the world. We have a real solution for it. This nice technology called Bitcoin, but make no mistake, it is the people on the ground, the peers, especially here in Africa, that have shown us what the killer app of Bitcoin really is.
So I was talking to someone earlier, and he said to me, and I agree with it. I want to see if you agree that all of the world's problems have already been fixed. They just haven't been fixed everywhere, right? Because we don't have payment problems in the United States. We don't have payment problems in Europe. We don't have payment problems in other countries. But we do have payment problems here in Africa. Let's talk about that. Do you think that these problems are by design? And if they are, that means bad systems can be redesigned. Tell me about, I'd love for you to respond to that statement.
Well, that question might get me in trouble. Well, the answer might get me in trouble. So, I mean, it's a deep answer, right? Because, you know, when people talk about financial systems, they'll talk about outdated systems. They'll talk about incompetence. You know, when you go to your banker and try to do a wire, oh, they put you through the paces and this and that. Even in America, you're right, that exists. Yeah. But in the global south, the problem is layers of magnitude stacked on top of that. Like economic apartheid is real. Let's take an on-the-ground scenario, right? Let's say a young person in Nigeria wants to get a debit card that they can use online anywhere in the world, right? Should be easy enough, right? They just go to the bank and open up a domicile account and put US dollars in there. The problem is this. They have to go buy US dollars on the black market at like, what is it now, 800 Naira per dollar? Then they'll take those US dollars, put it in the domicile account, and they'll say, okay, here's your debit card. You can go onto Amazon.com and order now. But every time you order on Amazon.com or anywhere, anytime you spend those dollars in that account for that debit card, you'll be getting it at the official rate, which is half of what you paid for it. So you are literally paying twice as much to access those dollars. But wait, it gets better. If there are corrupt officials who are friends with buddies at the Central Bank of Nigeria or Egypt or Argentina or Venezuela or wherever in the world this is, they can buy dollars at the official rate and sell it for twice the price on the black market. And they don't want that spread to decrease because it improves their round tripping, right? And it all goes to their bank accounts in New York or Paris or London or wherever. This is the cause of the inflation in the world. And inflation, how it exists now, is honestly one of the greatest evils you can imagine, but it is not just a natural progression, it is by design. In the 80s, 1 Naira was equal to more than $1. Yeah. And now it's approaching 1,000 to 1. What happened? Did the Nigerians just stop working? No. No. Things are being designed against them. The people that control price discovery, the people that can set the price for anything with a bunch of paper shorts on the Forex every morning, whether it's gold, silver, Nigerian Naira, Ghanaian CD, Venezuelan Bolivar, have the power to literally make an entire country poor overnight, to destroy a family's life savings in the blink of an eye. This is a superpower, and it is being used for evil every single day, and we don't really see it that way. Us as normal people, we think, oh yeah, inflation is just a part of life. No, it is manufactured, it is by design, it is heavily enforced, it is cloaked in a guise of propaganda and miseducation, and it is happening right now, and it will continue to punish the global south more than anyone else.
And there are parties that have every incentive to keep the system in place.
Exactly.
That is the hard part.
Exactly, because it's not just an attack from outside, it's also corruption on the inside. And it's usually the elites in the country that are all too happy to say, okay, we'll go with this because we can keep fattening our bank accounts. Meanwhile, the whole country gets poorer, including them. And that's why you see these youth-led rebellions popping up around the world right now. There's one happening in Brazil. There's one happening right now in Nigeria, which I think is the most important election in the world.
Absolutely.
right now. And everyone should be looking at that and looking to support the youth any way that they can, because the pain that the global South has been feeling for the past 100 years, believe me, it is coming to the West. That is a delayed reaction, and we will all be feeling it. It won't just manifest through inflation. There will be suffering beyond imagining unless we respect, the humanity as a single body. Pain in any one place should be addressed. It's pain that we should all be feeling.
And we should all care. I mean, I think that when the quality of life of the entire world or certain areas lifts, everybody wins, right? Because that means that the world is safer. That means that people have greater livelihood to be happier. And that is, just being focused on one particular area, country, is just not the way humans who believe in humanity should be operating, and hopefully we're getting that message. I want to transition a little bit and talk about jobs. We heard yesterday Abubakar Noor Khalil mentioned that Bitcoin is probably one of the safest bets in terms of jobs and career development. Talk to me about the number of jobs that Paxful has brought to the African continent, and where you guys think about hiring in the next 2 to 3 years.
Well, Paxful itself has a team of now, I believe, 300 people. However, that's just a drop in the bucket compared to the jobs that our customers have created. And by our customers, I mean 2 different groups of people. One is our merchants, our vendors, the guys that create liquidity on the marketplace. These are guys like, I met a couple right here. One fellow from the Congo, he's our first trader from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. He's been a Paxful user for 5 years. Amazing brother, his name is Salim. And he told me he's operating now, he started just by himself, working out of his home. And now he's got operations in 5 different African countries and teams of people working for him. And there are so many of these success stories all over the world, and I hear them all the time. And these brothers and sisters are creating jobs for their friends, their families, their neighbors, and they're bringing more people into this. And all of those people, their staffs, are working to help our second type of user, which is their customers, right? The people that use the platform to solve whatever financial problem they have, whether it's remittances or payments. It's absolutely amazing, and it can start very small. I'll give you a great example. I have a friend in Berlin, and she's a school teacher from Nairobi. She's Kenyan. She has a sister here. She sends money to her sister every 2 weeks from Berlin. She pays Western Union $200 to send 1,000 euros, right? And I asked her a simple question. I said, does your sister have M-Pesa? And she's like, of course. Everyone has M-Pesa in Kenya. M-Pesa was the first form of mobile money. It predated Bitcoin, PayPal, everything. And I said, all right, give me your sister's M-Pesa number, her phone number. So I did a trade on Paxful. And then, 13 seconds later, her sister sends her a text message and says, hey, where did this money come from? Her sister got Kenyan shillings worth over 104 euros. And all I did was I sold 100 euros worth of Bitcoin to a guy in Mombasa in Kenya. And I said, you can pay me by sending the money to this phone number. And he did it. It was a local transfer. It happened instantly from Kenyan to Kenyan. And I paid negative 4%. Because Bitcoin is more scarce in Kenya, people were willing to pay more for it. And I told my friend that, and she was like, can I do this?
Start a business.
She did. And all the Kenyan school teachers in Berlin are going through her right now. She started her own little Western Union right now.
Awesome.
And she's like, I think she's charging 5%.
Wow.
Her friends are only paying like 1% instead of 20%.
That's
and
right.
They're getting instant payments, and she's making 5% profit.
Wow. Instant. That's amazing.
And there's so many examples of that. That's great. That's the power of a peer-to-peer marketplace. That's the power of putting things into the hands of the people. They will find a way. Africans don't need any handouts and aid from the West. They just need to be shown a path, and they're going to be all over it. And it's beautiful to see. That's like the beauty of business and entrepreneurship, when you see it flourish right before your eyes. And it's just a normal person like me and you doing it, not a big company. It's awesome.
Yeah. And then, and we're going to do it the right way ethically, right? So create a business that is going to allow you to build your family, but also not cheat your customers. And that's that balance that you want. Let's transition because I know that Paxful is doing some really exciting work in Ghana. Tell us about the Kumasi Center and just what plans you have there.
Yes, it's the Bitcoin Technology Center,
Nice.
BTC, pun intended. And we will be educating people about three main things, right? So the first thing is we're going to teach them just about finance in general, how the money system works, why it's broken, where money comes from. I'm really just modeling my journey, right? Like, hey, we're going to teach you what money actually is and where it comes from. And they're going to be blown away, you know? That's going to start them saying, wow, how could someone do this? Like, it's a huge scam, right?
Understand
but hey,
how messed up things are.
exactly. And then we're going to say, but hey, there's something called Bitcoin, which is honest money. That's honest because it's created by work, human work through electricity and computing power creates a Bitcoin. A central banker can't just type in some numbers into a keyboard, hit enter, and that money's created and goes to his buddies. This is honest money. You can use it right now. So that's the first two things, right? It's
Yeah.
really money, what is money, and what is Bitcoin and why it's important, how it solves the problem of being honest money.
Awesome.
And then we teach them about entrepreneurship. We get them really excited. We say, hey, it's like, playing a role-playing game, right? An RPG that I grew up playing those games.
I did.
It all starts off with some, dark evil has emerged. Ancient
That's true.
force, and you're a small band.
And you have to, yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what this is.
It is.
We have a really messed up situation over here, but the good thing is you have the tools to help fight it right now. And you can you can build a party of adventurers, and you can go at this thing, and you can actually help people right now. That is the essence of entrepreneurship. We have identified a problem. You have the tools to fix it. Find your path and make things happen. And then we actually equip them with the knowledge you need to make it happen. Basics. Teach them how to use computers.
That's
How to use
awesome.
a web browser, how to use a computer, start trading. Teach them how to use, a Bitcoin wallet,
That's great.
and teach them how to code. Just
Oh,
a little bit of
interesting.
Python.
Yeah.
So you understand exactly how this stuff is built. They don't have to go too deep into it. You can start your own business on Paxful and not even know how the Bitcoin blockchain works.
Right.
You don't even need to know a line of code.
Yeah.
But we are not just looking to educate everyone. We also want to open up a path for those that want to go deeper.
Yeah.
Because those that want to go deeper and become real builders, those are the ones that can change everything. And there's so much talent here in Africa. It would be a crime not to leave that door open. So I'm really excited about this because I'm just trying to create more little versions of me and make my life easier as a young entrepreneur. I wouldn't have to go through 7 years of searching and go into all these crazy situations to try to, take my red pill.
Yeah.
We're serving up the red pills right here, and we're giving you all the tools and knowledge you need to go, and we're surrounding you with the company and support you need to make this happen.
Building the rails. And I think the other thing that you're doing, just by definition, is taking away the fear and the doubt, convincing people that they can do it, giving them the wherewithal, the environment to be successful. And even, I think when it comes to Bitcoin and new technology, we know there's scams, we know there's fraud. Having a resource of people that actually know, a credible company that's been in the space, that can just speak volumes for people that might want to become entrepreneurs. I think you're right. The first step is to be a Bitcoin saver. The next step is to be a Bitcoin entrepreneur, and that is where we want to get people. So does Paxful have plans to build these BTC tech centers all over Africa? That would be a dream.
Absolutely. We've already built
Awesome.
12 schools and 11 wells all over the world, mostly in Africa, through Built with Bitcoin Foundation, which is a non-for-profit we started over 5 years ago.
Yes, please tell us more about that. So non-for-profit started 5 years ago.
Yeah.
12 schools?
12 schools and 11 wells. My mission is to build 100 schools and a school for gifted children, X-Men style, Professor Xavier. No wheelchair though, still have my hair, but just a crazy dream of mine. But the crazy dream it's turned into something real. Giving people education, giving them, water. These are like the bedrocks of civilization. And, really at the end of the day, our job in the Bitcoin is we're trying to heal a world civilization that has been broken, right? But we have so much to work with, including amazing talent. So let's put them to work, let's educate them, and let's build a circular economy here. Once that happens, once the global South can freely trade with itself, beyond. And that's really what's exciting here. It's not just like, hey, let's get everyone in the global south and Africa on the same level as Americans. Americans are getting poor as hell right now. I'm sorry.
And to your point, they're old.
Yeah,
The
they're
average
ancient.
age of the United States and Europe, it's in the 40s. The average age of African countries is 19 and 20. It's the numbers.
I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta put your bets on black right now if you have any kind of sense,
I
right?
agree.
And it doesn't take much because these people are ready to go.
Yeah.
They are ambitious, they are young, they are fiery, and they won't take no for an answer anymore. They're ready to move forward. You cannot buy this. You cannot teach this either. Either
No.
you got it or you don't. And they got it.
I agree.
And that's why we're here.
I agree. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much, Ray, for talking to us. Thank you, guys. I know you're going to enjoy this episode of the Bitcoin in Africa show. It's super special. This is day 2 of the Africa Bitcoin Conference, and I wish you and the Paxful team all the best.
Thank you, sister. Now that we finished the warm-up, let's start the real.
That was perfect. Thank you.